All right, it's rolling, man.
Oh, it is rolling?
Oh, it's rolling. It's been rolling for a little bit.
Let's roll with it. Let's jump into this.
Here we go.
Hey, Dadhood, I be reppin' Dadhood. Welcome to the podcast. Show them how the dads do it. Yeah, Dadhood. I be reppin' Dadhood. Let's go.
So welcome to Dadhood.
Welcome, brother.
We're doing it actually inside a coffee shop this time.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome. We're here at Alpha Coffee. Carl's been on the show before, the owner. Him and his wife are incredible. This location is, I mean, how beautiful is the views here?
This is great. And I know about this place. I think I came here a couple of times before we started hanging out, but I didn't really start coming, when we started building our friendship. Then I started coming more. I love this place. I think it's a great location. I think he's done a great job with it. It's always packed, which is good for them.
Dude, it's always packed.
It's a great place. I mean,
it is.
And people just kind of come and they hang and they get, there's food and coffee and just the vibe is awesome. And like you said, it's right at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon.
For sure.
So it's beautiful.
The one thing I love that Carl does with Alpha is he gives back so much, not only to the community, but he's a veteran and he gives so many like bags of coffee back to soldiers and
That's
just
cool.
is constantly doing like fundraisers and giving it back. So, and that's what we're all about, just giving back to the community. So it's a nice alignment to be able to be here.
What's his story? So was he special ops or do you know, or does he talk about it? Because I know a lot of those guys just don't talk about it.
I don't think he talks about it but there's something about Carl. He has that I'm going to get it done no matter what mentality, you know? So you can kind of see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it.
I love it.
Though.
Well, we appreciate them letting us use the space here at Alpha, and we're kind of like you said, we're off as you walk in. We're in the Roosevelt room, which is kind of cool. We were going to be out in the mix, but it's kind of loud out there.
It is.
Which
it is loud
would have been cool.
Yeah.
You would have heard the ambiance in the background.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so cool too. I mean, right above your head there, the Roosevelt, the man in the arena, which there's something to that. Have you read that one before?
I haven't. Talking about Theodore Roosevelt.
So the thing he basically is talking about is the actual individual in the arena should be the only one that has an opinion or can say something.
Ooh, I like that.
When everybody else is pointing their fingers, Frankie, and they're like, it's the same with parenting, all of it, right? Everybody like judging, like you should be doing this. You should.
Right.
The only one that should have any insight and opinion is the one that's actually in it, doing it.
I love that.
It's so good.
So we're getting close here. We talked about it in the last episode, and that is we're a week away from doing our, is it Musagi or Musogi? How do you, I don't even know.
I'm going to say the Musagi.
Musagi?
Yeah. We are we will be on the plane as we speak.
Next week at this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're flying up to, I think I called it Twin Harbors. It's Two Harbors, Minnesota. The last time we were talking, I screwed it up. Two Harbors, Minnesota. It's way up. It's just, it's above like Duluth. So we're flying into Duluth, getting into an Uber, and then we're staying right on Lake Superior. So it's this Finnish spa / cold plunge experience. And we're going to be cold plunging in Lake Superior.
We are. And we're staying in a little cottage. It's going to be lovely.
It is going to be lovely. But it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, we're going from like Wednesday and then coming back Saturday. And I think the 2 days are going to be that Thursday and Friday that we're going to really just kind of do breath work.
Yes.
And just really kind of get into the whole
sauna and cold plunging.
Whole experience.
Dude, I was actually having a little bit of anxiety the other day thinking about it. I was like, what if we go all the way there and they don't have any saunas at the location? And because that's the whole like selling and the whole premise.
They said they did.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, but the part that like eases it for me, I'm like, okay, so worst case, I go and I kick it with my best friend for a few days up, and we're still cold plunging.
Yeah.
We just won't have anything to warm us up. We'll have to run back to the shower, Frank, and then we'll run back out.
No, I'm sure it's all good. It seemed like a pretty good, I mean, it got some good ratings. It looks cool. And
yeah, absolutely.
It's way up. I mean, it's way up there.
It's all the way up.
It is all the way up. It's like above the UP, man. So it's pretty cool. It's above Lake Superior. So if you're looking on a map, and we kind of Googled this the other day because we were like, how far from Canada are we? I think it said it's 150 miles from Canada.
Like that's nothing.
That's nothing. So I mean, you might as well be, if you look at the map, and it's kind of the thing even with the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, you might as well be in Canada at that point.
Right.
When you're that far and you look at the rest of the country, it's like you might as well be up in Canada.
I know.
You're so far friggin' north.
At this point, should we just take our passports just in case? You never know what's going to happen.
I know, that's true. But the fact that we don't have any kind of transportation other than an Uber, I don't know if I want to Uber it into Canada.
Oh my gosh. That's a whole different story and episode, right?
That's funny. So I grabbed this, and I know we talk
Okay.
about this, but I saw this, and it really kind of spoke to me because we have mentioned this, I think, several times on these episodes. And it just said, truth bomb for dads. Your tone of voice is wiring your child's nervous system. So calm builds resilience, yelling builds anxiety.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason that I printed it off, because this is something that I struggle with. I'm a lot better. I don't think I raise my voice at all anymore, but I can still, that I have a shitty tone,
Yes.
and it's the tone, that kind of thing. So I obviously yelling is really, really bad, and that's what I think they're talking about, but they're also talking about the tone.
Yes.
When your tone is shitty, it just kind of, it frazzles your kid. And so I wanted to share that just because I just think it's important to say it over and over, and because it's hard to, we're trying to, make good habits, right? Where you do things over, but sometimes you regress and you go back into the shitty tone.
Oh my gosh. And there's so many times, dude, like I will catch myself because the trigger will happen. My kid will say something, or one of my kids will say something, and it just triggers you right into that.
Because you're in the moment.
You're in the moment. And I'll like notice right now, I'll raise my voice, hey, like to get the attention. And then I'm like, no. Even that, starting off with that, I've just also created a trigger for them to go into the defense mode.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, it's like understanding my reaction is also causing their reaction in a sense.
Yeah.
It's
like you have stock in it.
You totally do.
And that's with any relationship.
Oh my gosh.
So thinking back to when you were young, when you were a kid,
Yeah.
was your dad a yeller? Was your stepmom a yeller? Was your mom a yeller? But I mean, because I know that the whole, like the family history.
For sure.
So your mom and dad got divorced when you were about 2.5.
2, yeah.
So what about though, as you were growing up with your mom, was she, if you did something wrong, was she a yeller? Like was there anybody that raised their voice, kind of like what we're talking about, maybe the shitty tone?
Yeah, it's very interesting, dude. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but a lot of my childhood, I've mentally like blocked up. I think it was a defense mechanism for me.
Yeah.
I know that my dad and stepmom, dude, they were yellers, but more towards each other. I don't remember my dad really like yelling at me.
Mm-hmm.
You get like definitely frustrated and stuff, but I don't think he yelled a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have blocked some of that out. My mom, I didn't spend enough time really with my mom.
So she probably was like, I'm not going to get into that because I don't want that time that we have to be negative, right?
Exactly.
And that can be a problem. Like you got to, discipline your kids, and you don't want, but that's what a fine line that is.
Oh my gosh.
If you don't have a lot of time with your kid, like if you're divorced and you get them like every other weekend or something.
And like, honestly, if you get them for 3 or 4 weeks out of the whole year.
Oh,
Frankie.
yeah. You don't want any kind of negative.
No.
And then that kind of, because you do have to parent. So that's a sticky predicament to be in.
Yeah. And I think with my mom, she was just trying to be my friend.
Yeah.
I don't think she was trying to really parent. She just wanted to be my friend.
Right.
And then I do recall becoming more of a teenager and, butting heads as we do.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple times she raised her voice, but it was very well deserved at that point.
Yeah.
But like even with some of that, just like reflecting back on it, man, which is weird that our brains set that up. They kind of like block out a lot of things.
I think it's cool, especially if there's trauma. I mean, that's just the way how it deals with itself, protects itself.
Sure.
So I think it is neat, but at the same time, it's damaging in the sense that it's saving you for that moment, for your childhood, but then that stuff is locked away as an adult. And then I think it comes out, or it can potentially seep out as you're an adult, with certain things, and not realizing where it's coming from, right? Like, why am I acting, or why am I this way? And it's probably stuff that's locked away in a file somewhere in your brain.
Yeah.
And it just has to come out. It comes out in different ways.
Yeah. And I think like now, even reflecting back, I think the tone is what really got me growing up. It was kind of this underlining, like,
Was it condescending?
Yeah, very condescending. This underlining, like, you can't really deal with this, or you know what I mean? So that came out very apparent.
Yeah.
Like now looking back, I'm like, so right out the gate, no matter what was being said, even if it wasn't, the intention wasn't to cut down.
Yeah.
It's the way it was presented was very much so.
Yeah.
Like
Where it
you
had
know,
that effect.
yeah, you can't do this, or you're messing up, or
Mhm.
whatever. So it's that effect on it.
Right.
And so I'm very aware of that now with myself,
With the words that you
with
have.
the
and-
words. But
yeah.
dude, I've been there. I've done that to my own kids, and
Mhm.
I'm starting to catch that and be like, no,
Yeah.
like make sure when you go in, especially, you know, I have like a deeper voice by nature. Like, so if I don't come in and kind of soften it
Right.
and almost like change my whole like disposition before saying the thing, it's
Mhm.
going to come off like harsh.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know?
the same thing with me. I get exactly what you're saying because I think we wear our emotions on our sleeve, right? And it's hard to. I mean, sometimes we don't even have to say anything. That's the
Yeah.
thing, and that's what I'm trying to change too. I'm trying to change that vibe. You know, like
the nonverbals.
the nonverbals,
Yeah.
because it's. I mean, you're saying so much without saying anything. The way you wear. I mean, just the way you carry or present yourself in a situation, and I'm working on that. Like we talked about that. I mean, I can change the vibe of a room.
Oh man.
You know, and especially with Axel or Tammy, and I'm trying to be cognizant of that. I try to catch it because sometimes it's Tammy, like, "Are you okay? Are you is everything okay? Are you is there something wrong? You know, that kind of thing." And I'm like, "Damn it, and there is, but I need to like, you know what I mean? I need to kind of check myself and sometimes I'll say yes, or sometimes I'll kind of blow it off and say no, and then I know I need to kind of do a 180
Yes.
with my attitude."
Dude, so I want to chat about this because yesterday on an episode, one of the dads that was on he was referring back to men not being able to emotionally express themselves the same as women, and I just don't agree with that. I think that we have the same emotions, we just haven't been equipped with the same tools to be able to process it.
I think that, and I think it's changing. It's slow change, the shift.
Yeah.
But I think it's society, like it's the whole man up. Don't you know what I mean? You don't share your emotions, which I disagree with.
I
and
do too.
I think we talk about the vulnerability, sharing how you feel. I think that is a strength in itself. And I think there's a lot of guys, unfortunately, out there that don't think that's true. They disagree with it.
Well, and I think this whole like stoic movement is also kind of counterintuitive towards emotional intelligence, because if I'm stoic, Frankie, I don't show any emotions and I just kind of process things in a.
But are you processing?
I don't think
the thing.
that. I don't think they are. I
But
think you're burying it.
Yeah, I think certain guys that are stoic, are they processing anything?
No.
Probably not.
And it's almost an excuse anymore to be like, well, I was being stoic in the moment. It's like, no, you weren't. You were just shutting down so that you could deal with or process it the way you were told or programmed to do it. Right.
But it goes back to our conversations that we have time and time again. Is like, if you're aware of that and you know that you're stuffing it down in that moment, and then it's probably not the best thing for that moment, if you can go back and kind of repair that, whether it's with your spouse or your kid, I think that's huge. But it's like, I don't know.
We talk a lot about doing it with our children, but I don't think we talk a lot about doing it with our spouse and how important that is. If you have a partner at home, like you have to be able to own up to that stuff, right?
Dude, you're talking to the guy that up until about maybe 2-3 years ago, and I'm a work in progress.
Yeah, so am I.
But it's like I had to be right. Okay, all the time. I rarely said sorry. I think sorry started to come in. To give myself some credit, maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think I was starting to see like, what am I doing? Like it's not worth it, right? Like even let's just say for shits and giggles, as we're talking about this, deep down that you're right. Sure. With whatever the argument or the conversation or the whatever you guys are talking about, that you're right. I've kind of gotten to a point, I've gotten to a point, and then sometimes I can still fall into this, but I'll go back and say sorry a lot quicker, because before, years ago, I just wouldn't. I'm like, I'm right. Why am I going to say sorry if I'm right? And that was kind of the mentality. And I would literally die on these hills and this is with my wife, Tammy, and obviously other relationships in the past, and that's probably why some of those are in the past, because, you don't know what you don't know until you know, and therapy kind of helped me see and owning some of the shit. It takes two, and I was that guy. I was always right, and I rarely said, if ever, sorry. But now I'll go back, right? Now it's like, okay, even if I know, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to, it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
Especially like, and I think we talked about this, touched on it a little bit. I think what made me open my eyes was us doing ayahuasca. I really had like a transformation back in October of 2023. It made me just see and realize what was important, right? The lens changed where it just didn't matter at that point as far as, getting into, and I guess it just, you got to pick and choose your battles. But for the most part, it's like, okay, I don't care. We'll resolve it. I don't need to be right. And then again, if there's something where we're talking and I show my ass in that conversation, and if I'm not saying sorry at that moment or a few minutes later, I'll make sure that I come back and repair it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I didn't do it before.
For sure. Do you think you can over apologize?
I think there are definitely people that say sorry, and I think I'm married to one. Tammy definitely is in that, where she's saying sorry and I'm like, you don't have to apologize, and it's just with everything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I'm like, stop saying sorry. Like, you don't have to be sorry about this or this, or it's like something that's so minuscule. Like, why are you saying sorry? Stop! Don't say sorry.
Yeah, and I can relate with Tammy on that one, and I think it's because I say this as a joke, but I'm a recovering people pleaser, and
She is as well. So there you
Yeah.
go. It's the people pleasing.
100%. Because if I could apologize for how I was showing up, and the funny thing is, 9 out of the 10 times had nothing to do with me, but I was apologizing so that the energy, the tone, the flow of the room could be more balanced because of the chaos.
Yeah,
Because
you're trying to be the peacekeeper.
Yeah, because of the arguing that was
Yeah.
constantly happening and all this. So it's like, oh my gosh, if I can be the one that makes everybody else feel good,
Yeah.
then maybe that will balance it out, which was never my responsibility.
It shouldn't
And it's
never
not,
be a kid.
And if
It's like,
you're
that's
one
crazy.
that's listening to this, it's not your responsibility
Right.
either. And it takes work, dude. It takes a lot of work to be like, no, like, this is not my job. My job's not to correct everybody else's emotions. My job is not to stop the chaos all the time. It is my responsibility to not bring the chaos to it,
right.
because that's what we control. But it's not, we can't control other people like in the room. And I think that apologizing over time, it's weird when you recognize I'm apologizing for others' behavior, and then stopping that and holding back and like taking the moment to be like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything because it is that nope, I'm good.
So you're getting better at the not
100%.
apologizing. That's good.
And
Because I haven't really noticed. I'm trying to think when we hang out or if we're just whatever. I don't think doesn't seem like that pops up. And I think I would know. And maybe it does every once in a while, but I don't because I'm very aware, hyper aware of it because of Tammy. And she's getting better, but sometimes she's just apologizing for the smallest things. I'm like, why are you just whatever? Like, I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Yeah. And I'm like, stop. And I'll say to her, like, you don't have to apologize for that.
And that was fortunate because I learned that in an actual relationship. The person that I was with was apologizing for everything. And I was like, and I would say that, be like, you don't have to apologize for that.
Yeah.
And I was working with that individual saying, next time you want to apologize for something, like, stop.
Yeah.
Because you're literally apologizing for everything.
And did you have the epiphany with that conversation? You're like, oh my gosh, that's me?
I was like, I almost wanted to say, like, thank you. That was a mirror for myself.
Yeah.
To be able to notice it and want to help correct that behavior in the individual, like show them what was going on, it actually corrected it for myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It is cool. And I think that's what's a beauty of like our past relationships, with all these different stages with our kids, with our current relationships. When you can step back and notice something that other individual is doing that's triggering you,
yeah,
it's usually not them. It's something within yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it's usually like that. That's something that I learned later in life in therapy, and that is usually 9 times out of 10 and I learned it, like I said, the hard way with other relationships that I'm no longer in, like and you look back and it's like, oh man, I brought a lot of shit to that relationship. But I found out in therapy that 9 times out of 10 when I'm having a disagreement with Tammy, it's not really about Tammy. She's triggering something in me that I'm pissed about. It's usually from my child. I traced it back, and it was most likely it was stuff because my brother is 5 years older than me. So there was a lot of that kind of built the imago of who I am from the childhood growing up with him and the interactions that we had. So a lot of and I'm able to really tap into it now. And sometimes I can't find the right tool in the heat of the moment, and I'll come back and say, sorry, it wasn't about you. That was about, that what you did or said triggered something in me, and all of a sudden I'm 8-year-old Frankie and I'm fighting with my brother. That's what it is.
Oh, 100%.
And like I said, most of the time that's the case. So a lot of the time, like if we're having, even with just outside of like any relationship or any interaction, if I'm talking to somebody and somebody says or does something and it pisses me off, I have to go inside and go, okay, what is this? And I can usually trace it back to when I was a kid. There's something that is pissing me off about this person. It's not about the person. It's about what they're triggering, what that button is that they're hitting.
Yeah. You know what really sucks about that and having to go back to your 8-year-old version? Because my oldest son has tendencies that trigger me based off of my dad and my relationship. There are times then that I don't feel like I show up for him the way that I want to show up because I'm totally like defaulting back to that 8-year-old. So I'm an 8-year-old man trying to raise this 10-year-old child who says something that's like triggering that takes me right back to that. And dude, there's been so many times I just have to say, like, my son, this is my son. Like, you've got it. You're showing up as the dad. This is not you as a kid and your dad. But man, those moments hit super hard, dude.
You're preaching to the choir.
Oh,
I can,
gosh.
like Tammy, and it's not as much now, but there was a time, like I think in the last couple of weeks, where she said this. I was getting into it with Axel, and we were bickering. We weren't fighting. It wasn't it wasn't anything crazy, but we were bickering. And Tammy was like, all right, it's like I have 2 kids here. And I know, and when she says that, I know exactly what she's talking about. I'm acting like an 8-year-old. He's 9, so I'm acting like a child with my child, and I get it. And sometimes I'm like, whatever, I'll blow it off, especially if it's nothing too crazy. But it's a nice little reality check. You're right. I'm fighting with him. It's 8-year-old Frankie fighting with 9-year-old Axel. It's easy to kind of, as long as you can tap into it.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, anyway.
Dude, but when Katie says stuff like that to me, though,
does it make you angry?
Fires me up.
Does it?
Then I become a stoic.
Then you like,
because I'm like, I do. I'm like,
do you feel like ganged up on at that point?
I do.
Okay.
I'm like,
because I do too. But I'm trying to like, because sometimes I get pissy, or pissier. But usually I'm like, okay, she's making a good point. I'm acting like a little asshole. But I don't know. And other times, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm like, it'll make me even go harder at Axel. Like, I'm right, dude. You're wrong and I'm right. It goes back to that, like I know. And then, anyway.
It's so weird because like just saying that to you, I felt my skin like warming up. I'm like, I get triggered into fight mode.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right?
So is that something that roots from like fight mode, like physical? You want to physically fight?
I do want to physically fight. Obviously, not my wife.
Right.
But it does.
It triggers you where you get angry.
It triggers me up to that point where I'm like, it's
you want
on.
To hit something.
It's on. Let's go. And I'm not running.
Right.
I want to sit there and like battle it out.
Right. But not with them. So we don't want to be clear.
Yeah,
I get
absolutely. It. So what I end up doing though in those situations when I feel this now, I have to excuse myself.
Yeah.
I just like walk. I'll walk out. I know that that's not the best. Usually you should say something beforehand, but we also need to know who we are inside. And I'm like, when I'm in fight mode, I'm more times than not going to say something stupid that I'll regret later.
Same.
Or, do something dumb. Like just the other day, here's a great example. We were coming back in the car and we were talking about something that my child did that I didn't believe was a good example of character development. Like he didn't show up the way that I would want him to show up in this situation. Kind of ran his mouth and stuff. So I just was like baking inside. I was like, man, like I thought I'm teaching you more than that, better than that kind of way. That we'd always hear that, like, I've raised you better than this kind of thing. Right. But like in my mind, I was thinking that, and I got home and I'm like, okay, it's trash day. So I have to grab the keys because my trash go behind the gate. Right. And I have to grab the keys out of this little lockbox. The kids have already gone in. Katie went in, and I go to open this thing and it was like jammed. So I got the code finally open, and when I went to shut it, dude, I just slammed the thing, right? And they all pop out in the garage. Oh my gosh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just frustrated. And I could hear my son, the one that I was dealing with, he was like, he's frustrated because of me, which really sucked. And so I did go in later and apologize. But in that moment, like going back to that whole thing, I realized that was such a ridiculous response. Like, I was frustrated. Then on top of that, the thing wasn't doing what I want. There was no need for me to slam it, but that's an example of like in that moment and getting heated.
Yeah.
Right.
How they watch you.
And they totally watch. And then I was like, okay, I went in and I said that whole thing. Hey, listen, I was frustrated. The box wasn't opening. I was already also frustrated with how I would have showed up in the situation was different than how you showed up. But that's not my responsibility to show up your way.
Right.
And you'll have to learn those lessons as you go.
Learn the hard way. Yeah.
But I wanted to let you know that my response wasn't right. Like, even though I was frustrated and that thing, like, I shouldn't have slammed that shut. That's ridiculous, right? And, like, that's not how you show up as an example. But, like, 2 days later, my son, the same one that I was talking to, was frustrated about what we were having for dinner. Oh my gosh, we can go into that whole thing.
There's a trigger right there.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, dude, you are so fortunate. Why are you complaining? You know, I'll eat your portion too. Go to bed hungry. I don't care. So like, he walked downstairs and started punching the punching bag. But that's exactly what I told him to do when he was frustrated. But I didn't know if that was because of what happened 2 days ago, why he felt like he needed to do that. Because up to that point, he hadn't been going down and punching the bag.
And maybe he didn't know. Maybe he's just like, just feeling, you know, sometimes it's hard to put and wrap around whatever it is we're feeling. We just know that we're feeling frustrated, angry. We don't know where it's from, especially as a child. It's like he might not know if a couple days went by. Yeah. But that's how great that he went down. And
it really, when I look back on it, I'm like, he did exactly what I said, because the other responses have usually been complaining or popping back off to his mom or I about it. And I just said, hey, bud, in those situations, sometimes the best thing to do is not say anything.
Right.
You can dislike this meal, but you don't have to vocalize that out to us.
Right.
Like, if you're frustrated, go down, punch the bag, grab your pillow upstairs, yell into it. I don't care.
Get it out.
Just don't do it to mom or I.
Yeah.
You know?
There's ways to get the frustration, the anger, the whatever it is, because it's good when you're teaching them to kind of process and feel it and at least get rid of it instead of suppressing, going back to that and pushing it down.
Well, and some people like view that, they'll view those things as like, well, that's not positive behavior to it. I'm like,
but I think it totally is.
But it is.
Yeah.
You're dealing with your frustration in a way that's not impacting others.
I think any therapist would say that that's a very functional way to get rid of the anger. You know, like screaming into a pillow, like or taking a drive if you're old. You know, you're an adult and scream in the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Crying is good. Kind of releasing the stuff that's inside, because if you don't release it, they know on a physiological level that is not good for your system.
Yeah. What is that? Isn't their whole book like The Body Holds the Secret or whatever?
Yeah, or something. It keeps score.
It totally does.
Yeah. And it's storing it away, man.
We know this. They've, like you said, quantified it all. Like, it leads to other ailments within your body. You're storing all this.
Yep.
It's energy. It's got to move out, right?
And it could come out in bad behavior. I mean, that kind of thing. I mean, it's got to come out somewhere, and it's going to show its reary head somewhere.
Absolutely.
So going back to what you were saying with how they watch us, and we were talking about how they see how we react in certain instances or situations, and then they mimic it.
Yeah.
So it was when Axel was, he's 9, so he's probably 4 or 5, and this is where I really noticed it. And speaking of being frustrated, he would be frustrated with something, or like a toy, or maybe even homework, and he would just kind of like crumple something up or break it, and get pissy. And he was seeing me, like if I'm trying to fix something or trying to do something, and I realized, though, I'm like, I would get pissed at him. I'm like, buddy, you don't act this way.
Yeah.
That's not how you don't scribble and do that. Like, you just ruined your homework because you're frustrated, or you tore the page out of the book because you're frustrated. but that's stuff that he would see me doing, maybe not ripping a page out, but I was like getting frustrated with something, and that's how I would basically display it, and he would see it. So I had to, and I'm a lot better at it. Sometimes I still will get frustrated with something, especially if I can't, trying to fix something, and that's usually for me, where the frustration comes in.
Yeah.
Much better at it, but before I wasn't seeing it until I was looking at little mini me, right? Do these things and act this certain, and I was thinking to myself, like, why is he acting this way? And then it hit me. I'm like, fuck, he's acting this way because of me.
Yeah.
He sees it.
Oh man. And they are constantly watching, Frankie. Like moments that I'm like, they're not even in the same room. I'm like, how did they pick up on these behaviors? They're constantly watching.
And even with our vibe, that's where I'm trying to really tap into, again, where I can change the energy in the room. So I'm trying to be really aware of that. Not rainbows and butterflies all the time, but if I wake up and I think we use this, I think we talked about this, but I woke up about a week and a half ago and just was in a crappy mood.
Sure.
And I think it was because I think we talked about this, where I had sugar the day before and it really didn't sit well, and I felt irritable and just pissy the next morning. And that's when I came down and Tammy was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I realized, like, jeez, I'm wearing it on my sleeve. But I'm trying to be better about that. Like, if I'm, not that I was pushing it down, I dealt with it, but I was able to trace it back to the sugar thing. And then, your mood drives your brain. So I was able to change it so I'm not ruining their day, right? My day. I don't want to ruin everybody's day because of how I'm feeling.
Right.
But that's the reality of it. And trying to teach that to Axel, it's like, look, man, you can feel this way and sit with it. Like, if you're not feeling whatever, you're feeling depressed or in a bad mood, I mean, I want you to try to figure out why, but then it's up to you to change that. You got to change it because your mood drives your brain.
Oh, dude, we talk about that all the time. Your paradigm, your thoughts, it all controls, right? It just goes out. I think the hardest thing in those moments is, are you vulnerable enough as the parent, as the example, just to explain that in a sense of saying, you know what, bud, I'm just having an off day. Just know that this has nothing to do with you. It could have been something I ate, could have been, something work related, but I'm just having an off day.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure it out, and it's going to be, everything's fine. And let them know everything's fine. I'm just having an off day. So hopefully they get to the point where they can just be like, dude, I'm just having an off day.
Yeah.
Because if he came to you when he's like a teenager or he's getting older, and he can be like, hey, listen, Dad, don't take any of this personal. I'm having an off day and I'm trying to figure it out. You'd be like, right on. I'm here for you if you need it, but I totally understand.
Boy, and think of that as like thinking about me growing up and my dad, because we were very similar and we went head to head a lot when I was a teenager. We butted heads. And I think that's very common, especially if you have a child that's very similar to you in personality. You're looking in a mirror with that child. But man, if that would have been like a game changer, I think, for my dad, if I would have said, which I wasn't even, again, this is, I grew up was born in 71, so that my formative years in the 80s, it wasn't anywhere in our realm to be talking about how we're feeling, trying to, look within.
Yeah.
And I'm having conversations with Axel, and this is something that I wanted to hit on, talking about being depressed. And the reason, and so it's a pretty good little conversation starter. So he's a big fan of Linkin Park.
Okay.
And he's kind of gotten back into this band. And one of their last album they did before Chester took his life, it was, gosh, I can't think of the album. Anyway, there's a lot of songs on there where you can hear it lyrically. You can hear him crying for help. Oh. You could just see he's talking about taking his life. He's talking about that sort of thing. And there's one song in particular that he writes kind of both sides of it, talking about if somebody leaves you and takes their life, you should be angry, right? You should be. And then the flip side of it is, like, there's another lyric. So he's kind of speaking from or singing from both sides. Wow. That nobody cares, that kind of, and then you have that, right? And then that was like in his head. And he always said that being alone in his thoughts was a dangerous place for him. And he had some stuff. And this has been really, really good. And maybe this is something that you can try to organically get into with your kids, your younger kids, to get into these conversations, because unfortunately, even at this age, we have to start talking about that, your mental health,
Yes.
being depressed, kids that that take their own life, and how like because I don't think they get the finality of that, like how it's final.
Oh no, there's research. So when I used to work for the state, we had a lot of research based off of that.
Yeah.
The kids their brains couldn't
They
process
can't get
it.
around that.
No, and they just think, oh, but I'll be back next week. or
Yeah,
I'll be back
get
the next-
sympathy. That people will miss
Like,
me.
like I'll get all the people, showing up,
Yeah.
dropping off the flowers, saying how much, and then I'll be able to see all this and then come back.
Right.
And it's like, no, it
kind of goes back to, we talk about their brains aren't developed until like
No.
mid to late 20s for a guy, for
Yeah.
males.
Yeah.
So you're not able to kind of form the consequence of, if you do this,
Oh man.
this is, you're never ever, and you're leaving people, just distraught, like what you leave behind you. So I've been having these conversations with, like, again, the lyrics, and he understands the lyrics, but he's asking questions. He's like, how old was he when he took his life? And, I'm like, he's like 41. And he's like, why did he do that? And I said, well, with him in particular, and he's talked about this, he had abuse when he was young. And I said, and this is, well, what kind of abuse? And he said, what's abuse? And I told him, I said, well, there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, and there's sexual abuse. And I said, what happened to him, I said, I'm sure there was all kinds of abuse. I said, but what happened to him is he was sexually abused when he was a child. And I said, and unfortunately, it happened, and I don't know the details with it. I said, sometimes it's usually people that I said, sometimes it's strangers, but it's usually people that are either around the family, right? Or they're unfortunately in the family that do this. And then he was asking, what does that mean? So I kind of told him for his, age appropriate.
Sure.
But to where he could understand it. And then I said, well, this is why it's important, and we talk to you all the time about this, and we're saying this again, why, and then you kind of go down the road of like the sexual abuse thing. Like if something ever, somebody ever wants to see that, you don't, so I'm going through that part of the conversation.
Yes.
But getting to the point of taking one's life, I'm like, so this is why it's important. I said, because I think he was struggling, and he was definitely trying to write about this sort of thing. This was an outlet for him. I said, but it's so important for people, and even your age, and as you get older and the hormones start changing, and it just feels like it might feel like things are just coming apart at the seams. Maybe you've got a first girlfriend and you guys break up, which most likely is going to happen.
Oh yeah.
It's going to feel like the end of the world, and just know that it's not. And you will get through it. I said, but the way you get through it, I said, if mom and I are still around, right? You come to us with anything. Or if you don't feel comfortable coming to us, which I hope you do, because you can come to us for anything.
For sure.
No judgment. I tell them, like, I don't care what it is, no judgment. But you find somebody. That's the point of this conversation. Find somebody that you can talk to. And he said before in the past, he's like, well, I would just go to a therapist. I'm like, that's great. That's awesome as you get old. But sometimes, you're a kid, and that might not be feasible, right? In the moment. Find somebody that you feel comfortable with and just share it. Like, hopefully it's a good friend. It's either your mom or myself. But that's how you get through things. I said, it's this whole thing of you can't do it on your own. And I think that's where people fall into some of these dark places where they feel like they're the only ones dealing with this. Nobody can help. I feel like a burden. I don't want to trouble somebody with my problems. And I said, and by talking, you're not troubling. You're not putting anybody out for just having a conversation of like, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm dealing with, because that's what it's all about, like people, right?
Yes,
and loved ones, and we're all like in this together and supporting one another. And so it's those conversations though, just like over and over, because I want him to know and be equipped with and be confident with when these things happen, because he's going to have, and maybe it won't ever, and hopefully pray to God it never gets to the dark places, because I've never, thinking back when I was a teenager, I got depressed, but luckily I never got into those, right? I've never been in, I was right before ayahuasca, and that was, I think it was coming off of all the shit that I was addicted to, so I felt it, I didn't like it, I've never felt like helpless like that ever in my life, but when I was younger, I'd had, some depressed stuff, and And I don't know. I'm just trying to have those conversations with him to know that it's okay
Yeah.
to reach out and talk to people.
And it's okay sometimes not being okay,
Yeah.
right?
Because
And
you're going to have those days.
Oh my gosh. Like, it's funny reflecting back. I was the same. As a child, I never really had it. Like, I was pretty optimistic with everything that went on.
Yeah.
You know, even up to adulthood to a point. I think some of those lower points have been now more as like a dad myself and all the pressure and society and all this. That you just have like moments that you go through and you realize I'm in the moment going through. And to your point, having an outlet, you know, on the Frankie and Jess podcast, you've had Joe. We had Joe on the Dadhood.
Yeah. From
He's
I
got
Love
the
You
I
Bro
Love You
project,
Bro
yeah.
project. And look, man, like there's resources and outlets and, you know, we don't specialize in any of this, but Joe and his organization does. And if you are feeling it and you don't feel like you have a friend, you don't feel like you can talk to your partner, you don't feel like you have any sense of a community, like there are those. There's the I Love You Bro projects. There's these groups out there that can help you get through these times because, you know, we can't show up for our kids, man, when we're broken and
That's
we're
true.
empty.
And
We
we're
just
all
can't.
broken to some extent.
100%. Everybody has their story. Everybody's been through something. And, you know, hopefully you find like your community that allows you to be and you're not, to your point, you're not being a burden, man. Like if you came to me tomorrow and like, bro, I need an hour of your time. I don't want you to say anything. Just sit here with me. I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Right.
And people can find that. Like there's, you know what I mean?
I was talking to a dad, and I want to say it because I don't want to out the dad, but he was sharing with, and this is kind of the whole point of kind of what we're doing here with the dadhood community.
Yes.
We want to kind of have a space and community for dads or dads to be where before it gets to a place of, because we've all
Absolutely.
had those like, oh man, I'm not feeling it or feeling like things might be getting a little dark.
Yeah.
So that's kind of to keep it and curb it from getting to that, to feel like you've got a place, a space where you belong.
Absolutely.
Right? And hang out. But this dad was telling me and sharing with me with his one of his kids who'd been bullied in school and is still kind of, he's older now and it's still kind of, it's affected him. It really affected his whole life.
For sure.
And this dad that was sharing that with me was sharing a story about him being bullied, and it was like 40 years ago.
Oh my
And we
gosh.
know, like, if you've ever been in that situation, that stuff messes you up.
Yeah.
But it just, my heart broke as a father, because I've been in situations as a kid, so I could relate on that aspect. But as a father, and then just hearing him talking about that, and and I think a couple of times he not apologized, but almost felt like apologetic for sharing that. And I was like, dude, you do not have to apologize. I know that is heartbreaking.
Oh,
you do
man.
not want to see your kid, I don't care what age, suffering or hurting, and that affected him. But anyway, to speak to that a little bit further, this dadhood community, that's what it's all about, man. It's just sharing that, connecting, having that underlying support system with each other.
Dude, and just being able to know someone else is going through it. It was just a couple weeks ago, I told you, my son got slapped in class.
You told me that, yeah.
You know?
That was crazy.
Dude, and you want to talk about trigger, those things trigger me big time. And this is where I had to like lean on my wife and ask her, like,
am I overreacting?
yeah,
or?
will you read this text before I send it back?
yeah.
Will you, like, I just want you to keep me kind of on track.
Boy,
because-
isn't that great? Just real quick before you, I
Yeah.
do that a lot with Tammy.
Oh,
now,
so
like
nice, dude.
later in life, like, can you read this email? I'm replying to this email. Is this too
how's
harsh?
my tone?
Yeah, and she'll say, she'll like soften it up a little bit, and then But anyway, I love that because that's something
dude.
that or I'll show my ass, and I've done that in the past, like in an email,
man.
like, I should have never sent that. I should have sat on that for 24 hours before I
Right.
sent it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and it's so good. And that's that reminder again. If you have somebody, utilize them. It's kind of one of those, it goes back to don't send the text after 1 a.m.
Yeah.
and just having that check, because sometimes we do get triggered, we get fired up at the situation. And if I would have responded in that moment how I was feeling, because I don't deal with bullying, I think that's nonsense.
Yeah, you
right?
don't lay your hand
No,
on anybody.
you don't
We have those conversations.
Do not have
a ton.
permission to ever physically touch
Right.
someone without their permission. And we're talking especially to our young boys.
Right.
That's such an important conversation on multiple levels moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, right?
Well, because it's the mentality of like boys will be boys.
Okay.
You hear that, right? Like, well, they're just being boys. I was
Oh.
like, well, therein lies the problem. Do you not
Yeah.
see how this is a problem
Yeah.
or can be a problem.
Exactly. Dude, that is so good. That is so good. And we hear that. I don't know if that narrative happens a lot outside of Utah. In Utah, I hear that all the time.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and parents will be parents. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Hopefully parents will be parents.
raise your children to understand some of these like vital points like in life,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
We need to make some
Yeah.
changes with it, right?
Absolutely, dude.
Dude, this is fun.
This is awesome.
This is a good time. So thanks again to Carl for
Yeah,
giving
thanks,
us the
Carl.
space here at Alpha Coffee.
Absolutely, man.
So do we have any, did he, and I can cut this out. Did he give us like a little something to, if you mentioned dadhood, will he give you 10%?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking about that, if
Okay.
you come into Alpha Coffee, either at the mouth of the canyon here,
Mhm.
or there's a downtown location as well.
Oh, have you been to that
I haven't
location?
been there.
Where downtown, do you know?
I don't. We need to cruise down there and check it out.
I would love it.
Yeah, he says it's a whole different vibe down there, which I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go down there and check that out. But if you go in store or online, if you just want to pick up some of their whole beans and stuff online,
Mhm.
go at checkout, put Dadhood 10 in, and get a little 10% off on Frankie and I.
Dude, every little bit helps, man.
Every little bit
love it.
absolutely helps.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dadhood, I be reppin' dadhood. Let's go.